And we are live. Welcome to another NinjaBill Live, episode 12. And I want to welcome my guests, co-hosts, Tia Fangeek.
Hello.
And Input.
What that?
What that? So how are you gentlemen doing?
I'm sorry, that was my impression of Homer Simpson burping. Please forgive me.
So how you guys doing? I hope you guys are all staying safe, staying healthy, etc., etc.
Doing great.
Yeah, doing good. Like I said earlier, just bored, man. It just nothing to really do.
Bored, huh?
Yeah.
Well, give me a second here. I've got some things to talk about. I just got to bring it up on the screen if I can get it to work today. I tried earlier today with this. I was experimenting with a new laptop here, and it's hit or miss.
Wildfire Reviews is here in the live stream chat, guys. Hello, Wildfire.
Oh, Wildfire, welcome.
Yeah.
Let's
we
see.
all know you're hiding.
I don't know what. I don't know what happened to Crimson Raptors. He was here and then he went poof.
Could have been trouble with his internet, NinjaBill. I mean, the lights blinked at my house. I was almost afraid I'd have to email you on one of my relatives' cell phones that I couldn't do it.
Oh, yeah, that would suck. Anyway, some quick things to talk about. Whoops, if I hit the right link. So a few things I wanted to talk about real quick. One of them, this is a really interesting article I recommend everyone read, which is a year Hasbro discovered waves. Basically, it is a sort of a history lesson on, when, if I get down to it right here, on how waves became a thing and, and how it worked out. Pretty interesting read. I highly suggest everybody follow that link, TFW 2005. Go there, check that article out. Really interesting read. So I'm not sure if either of you read that yet, but I suggest you do. So there you go. Next thing.
I'll have to read it after this.
Yeah, free downloadable Transformers color activity book. So there's that for everybody. It's absolutely free. You just click it. You get a PDF. I've already downloaded it. I didn't have time to really, look at it, but I did download it earlier today. So, really, really cool. But yeah, and there was one other thing I really wanted to point out here. And where was it? Oh, yes, right here. This thing looks amazing. As I own the Studio Series Blackout. So this I would love to own too, because he just looks so cool. Look at that paint job.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, it is.
That is amazing.
Is that a custom?
No, that'll be the repaint released there for
it's a China exclusive.
China exclusive, but I pretty much can guarantee that it'll be sold online. That just looks awesome. That looks amazing. Look at that.
Looks like Generation 2 Vortex.
Yeah.
I'm down for that. That looks really cool. I don't really do the Studio Series much, but that looks really, really good.
I know.
I still have 0 Studio Series Transformers in my collection.
Well, go for this one, Tia Fangeek. If you're going to get one, go for that one. So I've been
debating about getting one of the Studio Series Optimus Primes that comes with the trailer. Unless there's only one that does.
He said it's bigger than the Studio Series Blackout, and yes, it is. He is correct. It is a bit taller.
Okay.
But you can make this one a bit taller too, because notice the knees here. It's the exact same figure, but notice the knees are and how the legs are here versus the straight. See how that is? It's the same figure. They're both Studio Series figures, except this one he's got his knees all bent, and this one he's got them straight. So that's how I display mine with straight legs too. So even though the instructions recommend you do the chicken leg thing, I display him straight to give him a bit more height, so he can look over other figures because he was a tall bot in the movie. So still that's amazing, and I'm just like, wow, I want it bad. So I mean, that's pretty darn cool. pretty darn cool. I love that. I love that. It looks like a smoke black or a charcoal black. It's used on there, and I dig it, man. I dig it a lot.
Mhm.
I dig it a lot. So wait, it's Grindor. So okay, so we real quick question for you guys because I haven't. Has anybody seen Rack and Ruin in retail? Anybody?
Man, I haven't been
No.
into a retail store since a lot of this started kicking off. Like I
Mhm.
haven't been into a Target or anything like that, so I really couldn't answer that question honestly.
Yeah, I have recently, and I've got to go get my grocery shopping done tomorrow. I usually go at the beginning of a month and buy a month of groceries, and then that's it. I'm not one of those people that went in there and just, took everything that I could possibly fit in 2 or 3 carts. And no, I do it month by month. It's because I've got a limited income. It's what I got to live on, so that's the way I do it. So I am going to go tomorrow, and I know for a fact because I was there yesterday too that my store got a couple of Earthrise figures in. I know they have 2 Star Screams and 3 Grapples. I know that for a fact.
Oh, good luck
awesome.
getting them.
I'm sorry. What'd you say, TFN Geek? I didn't quite catch it.
Good luck getting them because I don't know if you guys have been keeping track on my channel. I did my review of Earthrise Starscream last night, and this just might be my all-time favorite Generation 1 version of Starscream
I'm
that
not
I
sold
own.
on it. I'm just not sold. I did watch your review, and the only reason that I would pick it up is because, like you said in your review, he is short packed. So whereas we get like 3 Grapples to 1 Starscream, or whatever it is.
Yes.
So I believe
Yes.
you said, and the only reason I would pick up Starscream is for somebody else who can't find him. Because I myself, I don't want Starscream. I just don't. I don't want him. I don't need him. I think the Siege Starscream is a better figure, even though it's not his G1 self. But you know what? I don't need a new old mold. There's Crimson Raptors. There you go. Welcome to the show there, Crimson.
What's
Hello.
up? I thought I was backstage the whole time. I wondered when everybody was going to go live. And then I was like, what the? They're already doing it.
No,
But I noticed my browser
in,
crashed on my mobile phone. So that's the reason why.
just as I added you in, you left the chat. So that's why your browser crashed. But at any rate, I have yet to see Rack and Ruin anywhere. So has anybody seen him? Well, I already asked TFN Geek and Input. Crimson, have you seen Rack and Ruin on the show anywhere?
I have not. Somebody said you could order on Amazon, but I cannot find the link for it on Amazon.
Neither did I.
Yeah, see, I haven't found anything, anything. And I've seen a lot of people reviewing him already. I saw a lot of pictures on Facebook of people sharing images of him. And I'm just like, what? Wildfire says, I've been awake for 5 hours. Only 5 hours?
Yeah, I have the Alpha Trion from Cyberverse, and I think this is going to be my second. I think Rack and Ruin is going to be my second Cyberverse figure that I'll have, because that Rack and Ruin looks pretty good by itself.
Oh yeah, he's what, an ultimate class or ultra class, and
so he's kind of like a Long Haul from Combiner Wars. He's about that size, like a little bit taller, like a Voyager size.
I do want ACP, man. Don't leave. Stick around. Stick around, ACP. Join the chat at least. Join the chat.
So I'm sorry to interrupt. I just found the web page where Amazon's selling Cyberverse Rack and Ruin, and he is sold out.
Oh, already? Dang. Not surprised.
Can you put that in the Discord so we can have that link?
Yeah, I'll put the link in Discord. Do you want me to put it in the live stream chat, Ed, or no?
I don't think it'll. I would put it in the. I don't care if you put it in the live stream chat, but definitely in the Discord so other people can get it too.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, but anyway, Crimson Raptors, as you can see there, this is a repaint that's going to be exclusive to Asia, and I like it. Of Studio Series Blackout, and I like it.
Is that the desert one on the right?
Yeah. Okay, the one on the right is the original Studio Series release right there. Now, the one on the left is the new one, and I like it. I like it a lot. It's been heavily repainted, not remolded or anything.
Okay. Dude, that looks like a... So I collect a lot of... I've collected a lot of military micro machines, and that looks like one of Galoob's army paint schemes, like for winter or something.
Nice. Or it could be a Marine naval helicopter. I mean, there's like that. So, but that is just it. Just looks amazing, and I like it. Two other things I talked about since you weren't here is there's a free coloring book you can download. There in TFW, if you look, free downloadable Transformers coloring and activity book. It's absolutely free. It's a PDF file. Go ahead and download, guys. Go to TFW, check that out. And the other thing I mentioned is this is a great article for everyone to read. Lots of good, wonderful information. So go ahead and read that. Okay, so has anybody where was I? You talk okay, so tell me guys, have you picked up any or gotten anything interesting?
Well, I got my Seacons. The two I got Golf and Turtler the other day.
Baby Gamma.
Saw your review a little while ago, commented on it. He's fabulous. He's so fabulous he ought to be on the runway.
That was an awesome review at the beginning. I was completely like just cracking up. Like I was rolling on the floor. It was hilarious. Well, that had me right at first, and I was like, okay, this is calm down. And then he was like, oh, Totala, and I'd be like, oh my god. I kept rewatching it because I was like, that's the I think that's from Godzilla versus Gigan, that sound effect. It was great.
It was awesome.
Snaptrap is no friend of children, unlike Gamera.
That's for sure.
That's for sure. But Hotlink is looking mighty righteous right here. I'm telling you what. If any of them, this would be the guy I want. Since I didn't get Skywarp, this would be. I dig it. It's the right color purple too. It's the right color purple too for Skywarp.
I just want it because it's a Seeker. There it is. It's another Seeker. I love me some Seekers. So,
speaking of Seekers, are you guys excited for the Earthrise 2-pack of Thundercracker and Skywarp that's being released at Target this summer?
I am excited to an extent. I don't know how excited I am because for Thundercracker, because I like what they used to do with Thundercracker. They used to kind of give him like these random weird homages to different things, like on his wings and stuff. Like Masterpiece Thundercracker had a homage to Soundwave. Generations Thundercracker did something similar. I kind of like that when they were doing that with Thundercracker. And with this Thundercracker, it's more cartoon accurate, and that's it. It's like they didn't really have a whole lot of fun with it or anything. So I don't know how excited I am for that Thundercracker because of that. But the Skywarp, I'm excited for because when that Skywarp drops, full well that Siege Skywarp is going to drop in price as well. So I'm excited to pick up for the Skywarp and then grab the other Skywarp, the Siege Skywarp, for cheap. People are trying to sell that off to get that box set.
Yeah, and welcome in, Transam 38, and welcome.
I'm definitely, so with Earthrise Starscream, I passed on that. Right when I was going to wait till I saw it in stores. Wasn't really as impressed, mainly because of the head sculpt. Some of the weird, less articulation they have. But the alt mode is incredible. And when I saw Thundercracker and Skywarp, I was like, man, I would love to get those three, and they would be 100% in their alt mode on my display. But I was like, but I already have I would only get the joy from them because they have the three original Seekers, but I already got that with the Siege Seekers. And these just aren't, I don't know, they're just not for me, I guess. But I want Thrust, I want Ramjet, I want Dirge, I want to see those designs. I'll definitely buy them.
Well, the reason why a lot of people are speculating that we are going to get the Coneheads is because it was shown that all three of them are in the artwork on Skylinks' box. Thrust is on the side, and Ramjet and Dirge are on the front.
That and Roland Redneck had saw the little indentation that was in the nose cone too for a cone head. So we know we'll get Thrust at retail, but I thought the 2-pack was going to be Dirge and Ramjet. So I mean, it's okay that it's Thundercracker and Skywarp, but honestly, I think we're suffering from seeker fatigue right now, and I think that they should have waited a little bit longer.
Did you guys happen to watch Bobby Skullface's newest video yesterday, today? Because he sort of talked about that whole seeker fatigue, where a lot of companies
about make toys, yes, yeah, about make toys, yeah.
Yeah, where a lot of companies and Hasbro's Takara does the same thing is that, okay, we've got a guaranteed 6-8 molds out of the seeker thing, and we can put them all out there and people will buy them up. Well, the problem is just like with their finding is you just released, 3 of the seekers, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever it was, with the Siege line, and now you're going to do it all over again, and Earthrise, except now you're going to also add in Coneheads too on top of it. That's, I think, a bit much. I mean, unless your collection is only Seekers, maybe I can see it. Welcome Deluxe, and welcome Thor Stop Motion Studio Reviews and more. But it's one of those things where I completely agree. Is like the reason I don't need that Starscream in my collection is because I am perfectly happy with the Siege version. Perfectly happy with it. And I don't really need an updated to the classic mold. I like the classics mold, the classics generations mold just fine, okay? Don't get me wrong, but I have all 6 of those. I don't need an update to that one. The mold was okay. It wasn't great. So I don't need an update to that. So I'm satisfied with the Siege version of Starscream that I have. I'd like to own the Skywarp, but I tell you what, that Hot Link looks more like Skywarp than Skywarp does, as you can see on the screen. It's a better color purple, with the exception of a few color differences. Like those yellows on the yellow on the wings there. He makes a good looking Skywarp. He does, even though it's Hot Link, he makes a good looking Skywarp. I love the purple here, which is a little bit deeper here, more Skywarpy colors.
I like the dark black that he is rather than the charcoal gray.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I don't mind the charcoal gray on Skywarp, and I gotta agree with Deluxe. Like, I don't think there's anything. I think seeker fatigue is a made up term by people who don't like seekers, or love seekers as much as say me or Deluxe do. So, but I don't know, man. I know a lot of people were complaining about the charcoal gray and everything for that Skywarp, and I don't see what the big issue is. I know that he's supposed to be black and he's traditionally black and all this other stuff, but I think a lot of people forget that this is Siege Skywarp. It's not G1 Skywarp. It's not Armada Skywarp. It's not XYZ Skywarp. It's Siege Skywarp. And Siege Skywarp at that point can be whatever color he wants to be. And that's it. Because you also got to remember, even back in the day, I don't understand the color argument, right? Like, oh, he's the wrong color, he's wrong, he's this and that or whatever. And this is just for any character, not necessarily just this Skywarp. But Hasbro with their cartoons used to take risk. I remember when Thrust became green, and he was still a Conehead, but he was green, and there really wasn't a whole lot of outcry. It was, people were like, okay, well that's not my Thrust. That's your
Armada.
Yeah, like Armada Thrust, right? They changed it up. They made Thrust look different. Thrust became one of the main seekers instead of Skywarp or Thundercracker or whatever. I'm just more curious when, as I guess like a fandom, when did that kind of I guess like attitude become less acceptable for Hasbro to do something different with their characters than what they did there. So
it's funny you mention that, because I do remember there was some outcry at the time, but the reason why is that there wasn't anything else on the market. There wasn't a Masterpiece version. There wasn't a third party. There wasn't a Generations version. So people were just happy to see the name. So when you get stuff like Siege and you get Masterpiece and you get third party cranking out G1 looking stuff, then there's this massive of, no, if it's G1, it's got to be G1, and that's what's changed that dynamic.
Yeah, but I still don't understand the argument though. Like that's not G1 Skywarp, right? That's an homage, sure, but it's not G1 Skywarp. If they were to
Right.
do G1 Skywarp, they did, with the Masterpiece Skywarp, that's G1 Skywarp. That's supposed to be G1. But this is Siege Skywarp, so he can be charcoal gray. Hell, he could be white and purple. I wouldn't care because it's not a G1 Skywarp. You know what I mean?
Well, that depends because in the cartoon, they were shown in tetrajet forms. It wasn't called a tetrajet at the time. I understand that, but for me, my thing with Skywarp and specifically his colors is I have an idea in my head. The head canon in my head says that he is a darker purple and a darker black than what the Siege version is. Would I love the Siege version? Absolutely. I would love to have that toy. I'm looking on the screen and saying to myself, man. I mean, he looks great. He looks great. There's no denying he looks great. Okay. I just think that this is a better shade of purple, more fitting to the original G1 toy. This is a bit too dark. I think this black is better than the charcoal gray. That's just my opinion and my own headcanon from what I understand the G1 toy and what I remember Skywarp being. I think this is a better color representation than this is. But input has a point.
Yeah, and like I want to say, like, you talked about the seeker fatigue, and I think that has a lot to do with that. This seems so close, right? So close from when we just got those siege seekers. So it's not like, I say seeker fatigue. That doesn't mean that I don't like seekers. I mean, I've bought them all.
Well, I said that that as a joke. I wasn't.
Oh, okay. Well, what I mean is, if they use that, right, and we get the Skywarp, we get the Starscream, because everybody was all like, at the beginning, we're like, we got Earthrise. When are we going to get the Earth modes for Starscream and all of them? And if they had continued on and did like the Welcoming Committee, and then they did, okay, let's say their first Seeker wasn't Starscream, let's say it was Hotlink and an all-purple F-15, then there'd be tons of people upset that we got this Hotlink, right, first, before we got Starscream. So they got to do the ones that sell that mold, that pay for that engineering. And so that's why we're getting Thundercracker and Skywarp, but it's at the same time, it's kind of like, you have other people that are complaining that, well, there are not enough Decepticons in either toy line. Well, it's always been that way. The Decepticons have always been less, because the Autobots aren't fighters, right? They're a bunch of civilians that got together and started battling Decepticons in a way that Decepticons were bigger. They're jets, they're military vehicles for the most part, and so it makes sense to have less of them and more of the Autobots.
Yep. Well, you're exactly right, because in G1, the Autobots it was literally like 4-1. I mean, to Decepticons. For every one Decepticon, there was like 4, maybe 5 Autobots, and that's that.
Yeah,
the
original.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't interrupt NinjaBill. Yeah, in the original batch of Transformers characters, there were 18 Autobots and only 12 Decepticons. And of those 12, Buzzsaw and Frenzy didn't show up until later, and Shockwave stayed on Cybertron. So when the Transformers arrived on Earth, there were technically only 9 Decepticons, and there were up to 18 Autobots. And back in 1984, one of those 9 Decepticons, Reflector, his action figure, wasn't released until 1986 as a mail-order exclusive. So there were technically only 7 Decepticons versus 18 Autobots.
Yeah. And like in the Series 7, for example, we had like 42 Autobots and only like 21 Decepticon figures. Well, I mean, it was that lopsided.
Well, and I feel like that should be the outcry, right? Like that should be, people should be kind of rallying together and being like, we want more Decepticons in our waves. Like it's been like this mainly Autobot. We want more Decepticons. Like that should be the outcry. Exactly. I feel like not my Starscream isn't red enough. It should be like, we want more than one Decepticon in Earthrise Wave 1,
Yeah.
And that's what the rallying cry should be. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, and going off what Input just said, one thing I forgot to say in my video review of Starscream last night, all of the red here on Starscream's robot mode chest, all the red on him is paint. None of it's red plastic.
That's what you said in your review, and wow, that's kind of cool right there. I dig that.
What?
This right here.
Oh.
But yeah,
Oh, yeah.
your review, you'd mentioned that it was paint. It was all that gray plastic, and what the red you saw on there, or gray plastic, and the red you saw on there was paint. So that's pretty cool. We'll give it that.
Mm-hmm.
Now I gotta say this Teletran one right here, man. All right, so I feel like as a Transformers fan, collector, the whole 9 yards, I feel like I'm a pretty positive collector and fan when it comes to anything Transformers, right?
Oh, okay.
But I gotta say, with that being said, this is a huge misstep. The fact that it's $20 a figure, there's roughly 8 figures you got to get, and they come it's paper. And that's it. And you put it together. I mean, think about that. Do the math. If you do the math on that, you can get the X2 Toys Teletran, and it's made of plastic, and it lights up, and it's got all these different features and stuff on it. Versus that is just paper for $200.
Wait, paper? I thought it was a light cardboard. Well, I guess cardboard.
It's cardstock, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, cardstock, sure, but cardstock's still paper, right? But
well, I don't understand why they didn't just print it on the backside of the actual box art, like the actual packaging. Like, it seems like you'd get a little more material and you wouldn't have to add that in. But I guess people would be like, they'd be upset that the boxes are messed up as is. So maybe this is a way of avoiding that.
Well, and think about that one figure, right, that becomes rare that you can't find. Say like Siege Megatron, or that Netflix Megatron becomes rare. And then now you can never complete your Teletran 1. Because
Yeah,
that would make you angry,
right? So I just think that, like, you know, that's a bit of a misstep. Just for it, I feel like if they should have just released Teletran as probably, say, like a Hasbro Pulse thing or a HasLabs type of situation, and made it out of plastic, made it very sturdy, and made it to scale with their Siege figures and stuff. But I'm not digging that one, man. I'm really not digging that Teletran. It's cool.
well,
It's cool.
It is, and it's what is the first time that Hasbro has kind of really acknowledged, like, giving that, you know, something for all intents and purposes, something free in the packaging like that. That's you can use as a display, since what the Stars like thing mail away you could do back in the day.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and no, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it's cool in that regard, right? But it's I don't know.
I mean, I guess they're Studio Series, right? They have little displays, but does that really count? I mean, those don't all interconnect, so.
Right.
Yeah. Good question. And Hida in the chat there says, does Sky Tread count as double? I think he was referring to what you said there, Input. So.
And why is Earthrise Optimus Prime on that display too? Like, that seems kind of weird.
Yeah, you could tell because of the alt mold here. Well, that and, you know, bits here and there, but the alt mold definitely gives that. Definitely gives it away. Except for, you know, it doesn't quite have the same Decatora feel. Looks well. Oh no, you said Earthrise, not Siege. So.
Yeah, we were talking about, I think this on the podcast way early on, and I think even on, you know, other live streams before that, you know, they should do something like that. They should include a Teletran 1, kind of make it out of the box art kind of situation. And I think this might, because of that Earthrise Prime, that makes me think that either the artist got the wrong impression, or these were meant to go with Earthrise, changed at the last minute, and included with their little deluxes with Netflix Siege. So, because that seems to be a pretty obvious oversight, that anybody could see that was not Siege Optimus Prime.
Or it's a spoiler for how the show, or how that Earthrise or Siege is going to end on Netflix. It's probably going to end with them crash landing on Earth, and then they're scanning, and then the last thing you see is Optimus Prime getting scanned into an Earth mode, and then that's supposed to represent that, or be like an
That's
homage to that or something.
Great spoilers, Input. Thanks, Input. Really, I mean, dang, no, just tell the whole story. Why don't you? I mean, geez, I mean, what are they land in an ark? Maybe I don't know. Crash
Well,
into
they've been stuck there for 4 million years.
Do they crash into a mountain and do like Crimson said and lay there for 4 million years? What dreaming about Energon goodies? I mean, what?
All
Tell
right,
the story,
all
Input.
right,
Tell us.
all right. Look, if you want me to so bad, I'll start at the beginning. There was a war. And it raged on, and there were these two factions called the Autobots and the Decepticons, and they were fighting for
Cybertrons,
their home planet.
and
They
Destrons.
were fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting, and one side said, "You know what? Screw this. You guys keep it. We're getting out of Dodge." And then the other two guys like, "No, you ain't leaving because we said so." And then they traced them to this planet called Earth, and they crash land into a mountain. And it was a volcano, and they were dormant for 4 million years. 4 million years. Until that one fateful day in 1984 when they woke up. And they got scanned into Earth modes, and they decided to call themselves robots in disguise, which didn't make a whole lot of sense because I've never seen an F-15 painted red with white stripes and blue wings. But I don't know. To each their own. Maybe Starscream is some kind of.
All right, from now on, whenever you tell stories, Tia Fan Geek has to animate them. That's just all there is to it. Because that was brilliant. Every time, that was brilliant.
Thank you.
That was brilliant.
Thank you. I just made it up as I went along as input.
Cybertron, our home for generations. It has been a peaceful
We have
world.
a main topic tonight. That main topic is, of course, the MacGuffin, the biggest MacGuffin in cinematic history, in my opinion. The only MacGuffin, the MacGuffin of all MacGuffins, the MacGuffins that MacGuffins itself, the Matrix. So I want to talk about what can't the Matrix do? What's the canon? What can it do? What can't it do? And I will start the round with Crimson.
What it can't do?
Okay, yes. Basically, tell us what you think the Matrix is.
It's the I don't know. It's the wisdom of ages. It's the accumulated knowledge of all the Autobot leaders that have retained it. It's a essence and connection to Primus, if not Vector Sigma itself, to the Well of Allsparks, powered only by the plasma energy chamber. And it is also able to forge and create new life, but that wisdom or that ability to use that matrix as that has been lost to time because it was not something that was given to Autobot leaders. It was something that was given to the caretakers of the matrix, if not the Autobots, like people like Alpha Trion. That's what I think the matrix can do. I don't think it should. I mean, it destroys Unicron because it brings light to the darkness. It brings order to chaos. It removes hate with wisdom to overpower that, like the hate plague itself. It definitely has its limits, but it also has overreaching abilities as well. But I don't think it can be used for evil. It can only be used to bring light to that darkness.
Okay, and input.
I think it can't be sold. I've been sitting on a warehouse of those things. Buy one, get one free, $19.99. Free shipping at this point. It just can't be sold. That's the only thing the Matrix can't do is be sold.
Okay, so a bit of reference there is he had input had a watch party of the movie. And during that movie, we sort of got into this whole, Mystery Science Theater 3000 thing. Where we started, having a bit of fun with the movie. Every time something happened, I would, punch in or input would type in, Magnus can't deal with that right now, and then when it came to the Matrix, I was like, it washes, it cleans, it scrubs, it takes up the grease, and buy one get one free, and we just kept going on and on with each other. It's a great thing, and so input. What do you think the Matrix is?
It is the device that which, when in our greatest time of need, lights our darkest hour.
But it also washes, cleans, and scrubs.
Oh, well, yeah, definitely. And for $19.95 plus $6.95 shipping and handling, you can have one, not only one, but two for the price of one right now. Just pay shipping on the second one.
With turbo handling.
Or your money back.
Okay, GFA Geek, now it's your show, so go ahead.
Okay. So what was the question?
What is the Matrix?
Isn't it a movie that 1999? Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
Yes, it's that too. No, the Matrix is the Matrix. All right, that whole movie was based off the Matrix when Prime released, to destroy Unicron. That's when the Matrix happened.
Oh, okay. No, but for me, what I think the Matrix of leadership is, I think it's a repository of knowledge and wisdom, but but the knowledge and wisdom it possesses is how to destroy evildoers. It's a repository of how to bring about peace in times of warfare, and that's something that you don't really see in fiction that often, because the Matrix of leadership, it can only be activated in times of great need, because you try to tap into it directly, it will be drained, because even though it's designed to be long lasting, it's not designed to be permanent, because the Matrix has been destroyed on some occasions. So that's what I think the Matrix of leadership is. It's the last bit of hope in times of disaster.
I got one, NinjaBill. Okay.
Go
I
ahead.
know what the Matrix is for real this time.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, for real this time. It is what turns Hot Rod into the whiny bitch that when he becomes Rodimus. That's what it is.
Emo Rod? Hot Rod
Yes.
into Emo Rod?
Emo Rod.
Emo Rod. That's what the Matrix does. That's what the Matrix is. It is a emo creation device. Anybody who bears it becomes an emo kid, and all they want to do is walk through the mall while slitting their wrist. That's what it is.
That's why I never actually put it inside of him.
That escalated quickly.
Would you say it was a bullet for your Valentine? Would you say that?
Yes.
Or
yes.
number one with a bullet? Would you say that?
Yes. What I think the Matrix is what I think the Matrix is a easy plot device that can be anything the writer can conceive at the moment. Oh, we need to stop the star from exploding, Matrix. We need to bring in a new hero, new leader, Matrix. Although that didn't really work with Atlas, did it? Because Atlas was made a leader and he didn't have a Matrix. Bumblebee was. Yep, I was going to say that. And Starsaber didn't have one. Bumblebee, when he was made leader, he didn't have a Matrix, etc. So I'm not 100%, but if you want a Prime, I guess it has to have a Matrix. Although, what with all the Primes, they have their own Matrix. Probably the Primes really confused me, is because you have the original 13 didn't have a Matrix, to my understanding, unless I'm mistaken.
No, not.
I thought in one of the comic books it said that Prima was given the Matrix, and then rather than pass it on to one of the other original 13, it was handed on to the next generation of Autobots created after them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
it's kind of two different conflicting stories, like in the Marvel comics they had, where it was the essence of Primus, and that was bestowed upon the Cybertronians that were created, and they were to form and continue to proliferate so that they grew a big enough army to defeat Unicron, because they knew he would, Primus knew he would come back eventually.
Yeah.
They're both drawn to each other. The Chaos Bringer and the Creator of Life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I still think it's a convenient plot device. That's what the Matrix ultimately is.
For sure.
There's everything that you guys said, but ultimately it's a convenient plot device to either end a plot or start a plot. Period.
Now Haida says it's a hammer, but it also doubles as a giant flashlight because it lights up every room at what you take it to.
It's also the hilt on, what is it, what sword was it? I forgot the sword that it forms, but it was also the hilt for that sword.
That Star Saber in Transformers Prime.
No, I was talking more of the BotCon G1 continuity that it forms the hilt for. I don't know if they called it the Star Saber. I'm drawing a blank on what they called it.
Was it the Master Sword that Fort Max uses?
No.
Master Sword.
Master Sword.
You know what? You know what's kind of weird about that is like Rodimus had the Matrix. Him and Cup and Blur just like left Cybertron after it was destroyed. I was just like, you couldn't leave the Matrix for somebody else? Like anybody, Rodimus? Seriously? You selfish bastard.
Oh, it's
yeah,
also...
and then in the Titan, was it Titan's Return or Power of the Prime's Machinima series? Hot Rod gives up the Matrix, and suddenly Rodimus Prime becomes Hot Rod. But what happened to the Matrix? Who got it after him? Nobody, apparently, because it just sat in the well of the Matrix or wherever the hell that was. I don't understand that whole. It didn't make sense to me what happened there.
Well, you see, Chief, he had to recharge the power pack. That's what he had to do.
Actually,
he left it with Autobot Philip on Space.
Autobot Philip.
Didn't it sit with Thunderclash for a while as well in the IDW books?
Oh God,
I haven't gotten to that part yet.
So. I hope not, because that would be absolutely stupid.
Actually,
no spoilers to me, but I'm at the part where the Dinobots are going crazy on Primordial Cybertron with Ironhide.
And I haven't read any of the issues.
So I'll say this about Thunderclash wielding it. He wields it for all of about 5 minutes. And every time anybody sees him after that, they're always falling over themselves to meet him because he's a Matrix bearer. And eventually it gets to the point to where the writer who was writing was it MT or MT, whatever, however you say it, More Than Meets the Eye. He basically got tired of what the whole Thunderclash thing was, and he made the joke. He had Whirl talking to Breakdown, and was like, and Breakdown's like, "Oh, geez, he had it for 5 minutes, and everyone trips over themselves. He's not even that good of a soldier." Like he totally just cuts him off at the knees, man. So, NinjaBill, I think you would like that part of the story, to be honest, because of that. It's a pretty funny moment. But
yeah,
Thunderclash could wield it. I could see that. He's awesome enough.
Yeah. One thing I know the Matrix of Leadership is not is a bulletproof vest.
I don't know. Galvatron shot it, and it kind of bounced off. Actually, he shot at Hot Rod Rodimus first, and then he shot at the Matrix, and the Matrix flipped out of his hand.
Well,
but
he would have shot
it straight to the chest.
He would have shot at Hot Rod because he wasn't fully transformed yet.
Yeah. It's so like I said, the Matrix is a confusing plot device that only happens when you need it. And then I guess in IDW universe, I guess the Decepticons had it for a while. I don't know. I'm not up on that whole mythology or the continuity in IDW books. I know it's considered canon because it's in the comic books, but which canon are we talking about? I don't.
Megatron's canon.
Well, it's also a map in IDW, so there's that too.
Yeah, because they're using it to find that's what the Lost Light crew is. They use it to find the the original
Knights of
13.
Cybertron.
There you go, Knights of Cybertron. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things where, I put a lot every time I see the Matrix, either in the comics, in a cartoon, or on a series. I have to stop myself from going, "Oh crap, here we go again," because ever since the '86 movie, every time the Matrix pops up, it is a one shot kill for whatever plot is happening, and that's the best way I can possibly put it. It's a one shot kill. You got a problem? Matrix. Your date's going badly? Matrix. I mean,
And to be
You're
honest,
lost in space and you're damaged. Oh, Matrix.
and to be honest, NinjaBill, I think in terms of Beast Wars Neo, you are 100% on the money with one shot kill everything.
I'd forgotten him. Yes, I'd forget. Totally. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Matrix a booster.
Yeah. Like just hey, want to relive your favorite anime? Matrix.
Matrix. Yeah.
Man.
You need to blow your nose. Matrix.
There you go. Guaranteed to clean your sinuses.
Just make sure to take your nose off your face.
There you go. But that was, I just, it's one of those things that where every time it's mentioned or brought out, it starts to bother me. It's one of those things where, maybe people just don't think about it too much. You're just, it always bothered me that it's become such a MacGuffin that in the mythology or continuities now that it's almost laughable.
Right. I think what Transformers and He-Man have in common, I think it'd be hilarious if just to see a Rodimus or Hot Rod standing there and he does the whole Prince Adam bit, but just, Transformers and I held aloft my trusty Matrix.
Do that in the movie.
I am Optimus Prime.
McMuffin. No, McGuffin. McGuffin. Not McMuffin, but you know what? Now I want a McMuffin. Thank you very much, Kato. You bastard.
And you got a little baby Grimlock and he transforms into Battle Dinobot.
The power of Primus. I have the Matrix.
Oh wait, that's Thundercats. No, I'm just kidding. Wait, that was what I was trying to do, but it wasn't E-Man.
Sure, Crimson. Sure.
Matrix.
We believe you.
Matrix. Oh.
Matrix. Oh. Thunder. Oh crap! It's the Matrix.
That's probably what Grimlock would do. He'd be like, "Me Grimlock King. Me have Matrix now."
He would do that too.
He totally would.
Funny. He totally would. He'd be like, "See, Prime, me got Matrix now. Me leader."
Me Grimlock save universe.
Me Grimlock eat Matrix.
Tasty.
It probably smells like sneezium salami or whatever.
Me Grimlock, now smarter that I ate the Matrix.
Yes, now maybe he'll build another combiner. Not that the Technobots are bad because they're pretty cool, but maybe he'll build something like I don't know. Space shuttle combiner or something. I don't know.
That's an interesting discussion right there, NinjaBill, because so they make the Dinobots on Earth and they have very rudimentary knowledge. And you had Wheeljack, you had Ratchet, people were helping wielding everything. And
it depends on which continuity you're talking about, though. Because in the comic continuity, in the original Marvel comic continuity, they were Autobots that were, more or less just scattered about the Ark in pieces, and the Ark reassembled them and created the Dinobots that way. Now in the cartoon, it's the way you mentioned.
Yeah, because like Teletrain 1 before it was called Teletrain 1, it was Auntie, the computer, and that sent them out. Well, I was just like, well, why did it send the Dinobots out to attack Shockwave in the Savage Land when it didn't operate or make all the other Autobots awake and Decepticons and stuff? So I was just like, that didn't make any sense, but whatever. It was a cool storyline for Ratchet to find them later. But so they make the rudimentary knowledge for the Dinobots, right? And my deal is that Soundwave has created, all of his cassettes he creates on his own, and that's why like Rumble and Frenzy, like maybe they're his oldest cassettes he's made, and so they're a little smarter than Laserbeak and Buzzsaw, Ravage, and the rest of them, and that because they're always asking questions. They're like, well, what's Vector Sigma? What's that? Or what does that do? What does this do? And it's kind of funny because it's like they're Soundwave's kids in a way. So we have Vector Sigma. We get introduced that in season 2, where that creates the Aerobots and the Stunticons. That's the way to give them life, right? So in season 3, Grimlock, with a tense amount of knowledge, creates life from those Technobots with the extreme amount of knowledge drained from himself. And it's like, so I'm wondering if he had retained that, he could have created more and more and more, but the amount of knowledge that he had was only going to create 5 of those plus the knowledge for Computron to beat Abominus. So I think it's kind of interesting kind of meshing that all together, even though they're different writers and they're over multiple of years, that all that kind of could make sense in universe if we completely overanalyze it like I do.
Interesting.
Question I have for you guys, in continuity of the Transformers Generation 1 cartoon, did you notice that all the Transformers who transformed into an animal or a beast, that they acted kind of primitive compared to the other Transformers that didn't turn into beasts? And even the Insecticons, they didn't completely act more like with human emotions like the other Transformers did. So my question is this: do you guys think that beast Transformers have animal instincts genetically built into their DNA when they're created? Because to my knowledge, in the Transformers Generation 1 cartoon, the first Transformer who transformed into a beast who spoke in a fluent language and acted like the other more humanoid Transformers was Skylies. Before then, all the other beast Transformers acted more like animals at times.
Well, Ravage did. He spoke in the pilot. He only spoke one time while he was in cassette mode inside of Soundwave's chest. So he would have the knowledge to speak as well, but we've never heard Laserbeak speak. In the comic, they all spoke. So, and they spoke to each other where everybody could listen to one another. But I don't think Ravage and Laserbeak, I don't think they ever spoke to Autobots or to humans, except with the exception of Ratbat being that. Was the only one that did that.
Well, I'll say this real quick to answer Haida's question. I'm pretty sure that was Wheeljack who said the first line in the G1 cartoon.
Yeah.
But to answer Tiafangi's question, I don't think this is the way I see the whole animalistic idea of it, right? Like, so you get when you get a fighter and they fight, it's very animalistic in their aggression, in their rage, and whatever kind of skilled warrior, right? So if you watch MMA, their bouts, their fights are very animalistic, and I feel like the more animalistic their abilities are, they're going to pick an eagle, they're going to pick a lion, something like that can actually do damage in the alt mode as well, versus somebody who thinks more logically, more strategically in wartime versus the fighter. So you'll have a leader like a general, say Prime. It's a truck, right? He picks a truck because he needs to get from A to B. He needs to blend in. He needs to this and that. In the sense of the Predacons, however, they're not worried about that because they're not worried about the people who live on the planet. So they're just like, screw it. if we ever get stuck in alt mode for whatever reason, we could still fight. We can still, rip things apart. We could still win the fight. We have these alt modes that have claws and all this other stuff. So I think they pick animalistic forms because in a fight, they are very animalistic.
That kind of makes sense especially for the Predacons. I definitely see that because, they were all about, they were all about destruction. They were all about, getting the job done, killing everything, scorched earth. That's the Predacons. That's so yeah. And first speaking of Predacons, I did a week-long pictorial review on my Facebook of that set, and the more I watched the cartoon episodes with Predaking in it, the more the more I read the comics, early Marvel comic thing, I am so happy that we didn't get. I would have been happier with the Marvel version versus the cartoon version. I wouldn't have liked the colors, the blue, and it was primarily blue in the comics. So, I'm glad we didn't get that. But I think I would have preferred the more mentality he had in the early Marvel comics, is what I'm saying.
Who?
For that character. Predaking.
Oh, Predaking, yeah.
Yeah. In the original Marvel comics, he was drawn because you know how color and inking worked back then on paper. So blues primarily showed up better. So he was a blue, orange, and yellow were his primary colors in the comics. And for some reason, I don't know, blue is the color they chose for him. But he had much more of a normal, I want to say normal, but not really normal personality, to him in the comics than he did in the cartoon. In the cartoon, he was basically, a savage. He didn't. He wasn't very articulate. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. He wasn't very articulate. Whereas in the comics, it was different. So.
Yeah, and that's something that I liked about the G1 comics more so than the cartoon, because they kind of gave them all their own type of personality, if you will, but they also made them, every character, less warlike. You got to see sides of the Decepticons in each one, versus what that one side of them, right? Like in the Predacon sense, they all talk normal. They didn't have this growly type of voice. It wasn't everyone listening to the leader. Everyone always had their, they all had their own thoughts. They all put their own input in on things and stuff like that. They were very much a cohesive team, and it showed that. And that's something that I think the comics did better than the cartoon, was the character development for each character and characters.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because the Predacons themselves, Tantrum, Rampage, Razor Claw, Dive Bomb, and I'm missing somebody. I know I am. But anyway, the point is they all had they all had distinct personalities. We knew about them. We knew more about them other than they were, made into this. They could combine them in this impervious robot that apparently impervious only meant for anybody but Skylinks.
Right.
And that bothers me about the cartoon of Predaking too. Is he's supposed to be impervious. He's a absolutely indestructible robot, right? And then here comes the cartoon, and suddenly Skylinks whacks him with his tail and knocks him apart.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? So Commander.
Well, Skylinks was quite the soldier too. I mean, he was always boasting about himself. He just wasn't modest at all. So he was definitely a quite proud about warrior.
That's why he's called Commander Modesty. That's why he keeps calling him that, Commander Modesty. That Springer coined the phrase Commander Modesty in the movie, in the series. But
call it primitives is when he did that.
Yeah.
Let me see. Strength. Okay, so strength on Skylinks is 10. Speed is 10. Endurance is 10. Courage is 10. His firepower is a 7. His rank's a 9. Skill and his intelligence are 8. So he's got some pretty high specs to take on Predaking.
What are Predakings again? I can't remember.
Let's go check that out.
Strength 10,
They're
intelligence.
probably all
2.
10s.
Right.
Oh, actually, intelligence is a 5.
Okay.
Strength is a 10. Speed is a 3, which I don't believe that at all.
Yeah.
Endurance is 8.5. Rank is 7. Courage and firepower are 9. And skill is an 8, which I don't believe that at all either. I think their skills are very high.
I would imagine their skills being 10, their courage being a 10, their firepower being a 10. And honestly, I mean, you got to think. The guy goes into battle with a sword, and like he's literally bringing a knife to a gunfight. And
Except that he's got that huge forearm cannon too.
well, fair enough, but he's mainly relying on that sword. Like that's and so he's like, oh, my weapon of choice when I go to fight a bunch of Autobots who wield guns is a sword. Right? Like for him to be that confident, I would think his skill level would be a 10 and his courage would be a 10, you know? His intelligence, I don't think besides Computron, I don't think there's really any intelligent combiner. And Computron's stupid in his own right because he has to sit there and diagnose everything before he does anything. Right?
Yeah.
So
Datum. 98% chance of success.
yeah, and then he gets blown apart because that 2% chance was him taking too long to do anything.
Right? Outside variable. Margin of error.
But yeah, so you know, and it's just one of those things that always, if I had my way, I would have much preferred to seen the comics version of the Predacons in the cartoon. Of course, as we all know, it never happened. You know, hindsight 2020. But you know, I'm hoping that and then it happened again in the Machinima series where he was kind of like the Marvel comic one. He was more articulate than he was in the cartoon, but at the same time, he was still stupid. And I'm just thinking to myself, no.
And what's fascinating about that? What's fascinating about it is he was played by Samoa Joe, the wrestler, and I kind of thought that was a fit, if you will, for Predaking, because if you listen to Samoa Joe, if you watch his in-ring work, the guy's submission tactician type of wrestler, right? But he's very articulate when he speaks. And when he started talking, when Predaking started talking, it was so reminiscent of the G1 comic, Marvel Comics. And I was like, that's a really good fit for voice-wise, just because of the outside, wrestling thing that that Predaking had no connection to because it's Predaking. Hey, Pac, welcome in, man.
Yep, welcome in, Pac.
Hello.
But that was just a little connection. But
so, TFN Geek, you've been real quiet on the topic of Predaking. What's your take on the whole thing?
My take on Predaking?
Yes.
Honestly, since I have to make a confession. I've never read any of the G1 Marvel comic books. So the only exposure I've had to Predaking was the Generation 1 cartoon.
Go buy them all right now and take care of that problem. Right now. Right? Don't wait. Right now. Buy them all. Every single one. I'll wait.
Volume 6 is really expensive. Just a heads up. I don't know why, but it is.
Let me see if I have any money left.
Go buy every single volume available out there in the world. Oh, wait. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
But I've always kind of thought of Predaking as being somewhat of a bruiser, not as much as Trypticon, but definitely more than the other combiners such as Devastator and Menasor. And I've always thought Predaking of being the physically strongest of all the combiners, not just the Decepticon ones, but the Autobots as well. And to see Skylynx take on Predaking hand in hand, I think they were trying to show that Skylynx was an imposing transformer because he had used both muscle and intelligence. He had the strength to take on Predaking, but he also had the intelligence to, just
outwit him.
Other beast transformers. He had the intelligence to talk in complete sentences.
That's one of the reasons why I love Skylinks as much as I do, and I'll be honest with you. It's because of his brazen attitude. I mean, that guy is all me, me, me. It's all about me. There's a song called "It's All About Me," and it reminds me. He reminds me of that song. It's all about me.
I like how in the
Can I download some of your ego to boost my confidence?
I like how even in the IDW comics, in the older ones like Phase 1 and 2, like they still write him as the G1 cartoon in itself, and it's quite entertaining. The lyrics, or not the lyrics, the script that they have for him.
Yeah, but yeah, no. For me, I've always kind of thought of Predaking as he is intelligent, but because he has so much firepower and so much strength, Predaking chooses to not use his intelligence, and he just uses his physical traits more than his intellect to battle his opponents. That's my opinion on Predaking.
Interesting. And
yeah,
and let's see. Pack says G1 Toy Skylinks is definitely a fave of mine. Easy, yeah. That's why I can't wait for this Commander class. I don't know if I'll be able to get a hold of it, but I sure want it. There was a lot of them I want from the Earthrise, and a lot of them I don't. I literally want about 5 toys from the Earthrise line, and the rest of them, if I get them, great. If not, I like Starscream, for example. I'm just not. Oh, okay. it's no big. No, I'm not. I stopped trying to be a completionist years ago, so I have no illusions of wanting to be a completionist. So, see,
I still got to get Siege Astro Train and Rat Bat and Rumble Frenzy and Omega Supreme from Siege.
I ordered my last figure from Amazon last week.
Nice.
Yeah, so it should
be 20th, I think. One of the Battle Masters, Singe, the one that's partnered with Spinister, and he showed up again on Amazon from Amazon.
Well, here's the thing. I ordered Singe from Amazon when they had him in their own stock. They put him up for pre-order back the last week of February, and literally exactly 1 month. And after I ordered Singe, they sent me an email saying they were out of stock and they didn't know when they'd have him back, so they canceled my order. And so, unfortunately, I had to buy Singe from, dare I say it, a scalper off of Amazon, because there hasn't been any Battle Masters at my local Target store for weeks now, and so I've come to the conclusion that it's probably going to be another 1, maybe 1.5 months before Battle Master size Transformers start to appear.
Do you have any like Big Lots or TJ Maxx or any kind of like resale shops that do stuff like Kohl's, things like that?
There's 2 Ross Dress for Less stores in my hometown.
Ross. Yeah, Ross would work too. I bet you what's going to happen is in about 6 to 8 months, you're going to go there and they're going to be there.
That's
probably what's going to happen for all of us. Because there was a Titans Return Rodimus, like not even like 8 months ago or something at a Ross. Mm-hmm. I was like, well, how random.
Yeah. Well, this is what I'm wondering. Is Siege Omega Supreme going to appear at the discount stores the way Fortress Maximus and Trypticon did?
Yeah.
I hope so, man. I hope so. He's the only official Omega Supreme I'm missing. It's the only one I'm missing. Oh man, I want it so bad. But that says those types of chain stores where he's appeared at aren't around in my state at all. I mean, at all. They're not in Iowa. None of the chains that had him in retail are even in Iowa. So I'd have to travel 2 or 3 states just to find a store. And that's not even worth my money. Because, well, now, I mean, gas prices have dropped down to below $1 in some places, and then I might be able to afford it. But that
where I live retail, so been above $3 for the last 5 years where I live in California. This past week, it finally dropped down to $2.99 here.
Yeah, we're sitting at like I think $1.40 right now a gallon.
Mm-hmm. I think it's been 4 to 5 years since the gas was down to $2.99 where I live in California.
Wow,
it's stupid how expensive gasoline is here.
Well, yeah. which is surprising. Well, not surprising, I guess, with the emission standards that California has. So,
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that's about it for tonight. I was hoping Adamantium Matrix would get home in time. He said he was going to try to get home in time so he could join in. But I am going to close the show here. It's been a great pleasure having all of you on, everybody in chat. Hide, Pack, Thor's. I know I'm missing somebody. Wild. I know it used to be Wolfatron, but now it's Wild something or other. Trans-Aaron 38, of course,
Wait,
my co-host.
That's Wolfimus? That's Wolf.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
Wolfatron is now Wild. What is it?
Wildfire Reviews. He changed his name, Crimson Raptors.
Yeah. Wildfire Reviews.
Wildfire? Why do you keep changing your name? I wondered who that guy was. I thought it was somebody new because the icon's different too.
I think he's trying to be like Punch Counterpunch, where he constantly has an identity crisis.
Well, the problem with that, if you keep changing your name, then all the links where people link to your channel, they're not going to work anymore.
Yeah.
So that happens a lot on Instagram for people that keep changing their name too. So
Deluxe Baldwin is here in the live stream chat too, NinjaBill.
oh
As
yeah,
was Auto Primer and Kato.
I was about to say them as well. And nice, Hide. That's a good Bill Tachi. Thank you. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me, my co-hosts, Tia Fangeek, Crimson Raptors, and Input. But before we go, we'll start with this. Tia Fangeek, tell us about where people can find you. And
All right,
that looks like Earthrise Optimus Prime.
On YouTube, and also find me on Discord. I don't do any of the social media websites like Facebook or Twitter. I tried, but my accounts, I either failed to authenticate them or I didn't have, and they just blocked me out. So you can find me here on YouTube and on Discord. I use the exact same name, TFangeek. And just a preview for an upcoming video, the last Transformers Earthrise figure I still have to review is Optimus Prime. I won't do him tonight. I'll probably do it tomorrow, but I hope to catch you guys there. Thank you, NinjaBill, for having me on here, and Crimson Raptors and Input. You guys are both awesome. Love watching your thoughts on the Transformers franchise, and thank you guys so much for being amazing fellow Transformers collectors.
And Input.
Well, thank you, TFN Geek. I want to say that first. You can find me here on YouTube on my YouTube page. That's in-PUT Input. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Ernest P. Whirl, just like the guy who saved Christmas with a bottle of Miak. You know what I mean, Vern? And you can catch me over on the Tales from Teletran podcast over on my channel every Saturday night from 7 to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time with my co-host, Rolling Redneck Reviews, Kato's Collections, and Crimson Raptors. And yeah, that's where you can find me.
And last night, he couldn't wait to leave the show, and he didn't want to even bother telling anybody about where to find him. He didn't care. He didn't care. He didn't care at all. Crimson had to force him into it. I'm telling you. It practically twisted his arm. I'm telling you. Anyway, Crimson Raptors, go ahead.
I try to keep on top of that, make sure everybody gets a fair shake. So, but you can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on YouTube, which is where you're watching this right now. You will not find me on Facebook because Facebook is evil. And anyway, but it's Crimson at Crimson, like the color, like the blood, dried blood of my enemies. Raptors, Raptors. And that's where you can find me. Stop motion animations, toy hall, really cool photography. NinjaBill, where can they find you?
They can find me right here, NinjaBill 1000 on YouTube, NinjaBill 1000 on Instagram, Shinobi Biru on Facebook, and NinjaBill on Discord. And with that, that's it. Thank you, everybody, once again, who's joined me here on the show, my co-hosts, and in the chat. As I was about to mention, Kato and Deluxe was also here. Thank you very much. Probably have very busy lives this evening, and by golly, I wish I was as busy too. I'm jealous. I'm jealous of you. I'm jealous. You understand? This is jealousy talking. Jealousy. Or that I'm just bullshitting my way through the ending. So, Crimson Raptors, take us out.
Everybody's got to stay safe. You know, Make sure you transform your Transformers properly.